Hello and welcome to ABW Radio, an Arsenal podcast. I'm your host, John. We're here tonight to talk about Arsenal 1, Ostersund 2. Obviously, go through on away goals, but we'll be talking about tonight's performance overall, which will be fun. Although I'm starting hosting the show, I'm not really hosting because we're just not going to bother having a proper one tonight because we're basically going to emulate our performance on the pitch with our performance on the radio show. That's what how we do it. So first off tonight, I'd like to introduce my other co-host, Shredder. How are you, sir? How you doing?
I'm good. It's like almost, I think, like 20 C over here. It's like almost 80 degrees.
Oh wow.
It's not even out of February. Just for you, Lord Hillwood. Just for you. Here we go.
Yeah, if we can also get some hashtag pray for Steve as well, because there were some very irate voice messages tonight. He was definitely in danger of collapsing at one point. And we also have with us the other ginger man of our podcast. How are you doing, Josh?
I'm doing great, thank you, with everything that I've just witnessed. I nearly fell asleep during it. Almost happy to be here, but Steve's rants have kept me awake.
Yeah,
enough to, having to defend my man Iwobi.
Oh dear, yeah.
That was got to do some defending in that game.
Yeah, as Danny correctly says, it is a Jonah fest tonight. We are all cursed, so we basically thought we'd share the hosting. Just a quick hello to everyone in the chat: Norma, AFK Cam, Rudy Rastlos, Sun JJ, Sinraf Morali, Neil Cooper, Simon Jordan, Chris Lodato. It's time to go. Oh, we've got our very own Gimli in there as well. Hello, Gim. Loki73, Stephen Edwards. I'm not as good at Jason at doing this. Jack Armstrong. You know that if I've missed your name, it's not because I don't like you. It's just because I can't read. Right. So let's jump into the lineups for tonight's game. Josh, when I come to you first, I wasn't overly surprised with the lineups. The only thing I think this season I found with trying to predict a lineup for a game is whether we're playing 3 at the back or 4 at the back. Did you have any thoughts on players you would have liked to have seen sort of before the game coming into it, or were you happy with how it all started off?
I mean, it was a lineup that should comfortably play well. We'll put it that way. We'll start with the basics. It should at least play well. Whether or not it should beat an Ostersund side, it's perhaps by the by now, but it was certainly a team that looked like it could do a decent job. I think I said before we even started the Europa League that the centre-back pairing of Rob Holding and Chambers is good enough to bring you to at least this stage in the competition before you need to start bringing your first teamers in. So happy to see those guys in there. Very apprehensive about Mr. Maitland-Niles playing in midfield. It's something that I've been very worried about and said, I don't know, till I've been blue in the face, at least on these radio shows, that we shouldn't be putting him in the middle because I just don't think he's ready. So it was annoying, but also nice to be justified and to actually see that he couldn't play through the middle at all. But otherwise, as I say, the lineups themselves, there's nothing that was overly worrying in there. A group of players that haven't played in a week, maybe a little bit longer if they were rested for the first leg, and with the Carling Cup final, whatever it is now, Carabao Cup, whatever weird liquid it is, it goes in your face.
I don't even know what it is. Is it a drink?
It's an energy drink that I think it's like the Vietnamese version of Red Bull.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I never even thought to look up what it is.
Yeah, it's got like a weird yak on the front of it.
Oh, okay.
And it's green. I don't know if it tastes any good, but I'm not someone. I reckon Gimli's definitely had a can. He seems like the type.
Yeah, actually, Gim, if you tweet about it, then maybe get a sponsorship deal. I don't know, with Carabao.
Spencer, any old shit.
Back to you, just on the team sheet. There was one thing that was brought up I saw on a few people's timelines before the game and during it, and was Hector Bellerin playing tonight's game. I'm not sure on the exact minutes, but I think he's played more minutes than any other Arsenal player this season. Our lack of cover there is a little bit worrying. The one player everyone said could maybe cover Bellerin would be Maitland-Niles. And I know obviously people wanted to see him play in the middle tonight, which we did. But are you a little bit worried that he then, ended up starting the game and played the full 90, considering we got the final at the weekend? Was that like one of the positions maybe you would like to see a bit of difference in?
It's I mean, I would like to. Yeah, I would have even minded putting our good friend Chambers there, because he's definitely played there for a while. Played there for Southampton as well. I don't know if anybody remembers last season when our backup right back was actually Gabriel Paulista for a little while, and actually had a couple of decent performances. I think he played like a total of 5 or 6 games or had a couple of decent performances. Who would have thought we'd ever missed Gabriel Paulista? Anyway, when I read it, you can't be surprised. We don't have anybody else to really put there, unless we were maybe to start Xhaka instead of Maitland-Niles in the middle. But as big of a Xhaka fan as I am, he definitely needs a rest, because let's talk about somebody who's been played a whole lot and just has not been in form. It's Granit Xhaka. So yeah, it's unfortunate you have to play him, but with as much as we've rested, with one as young as he is, and the fact that, it's not like we've played, Thursday, Sunday, Thursday, Sunday. The fact that we had a week between games, I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's that demanding on somebody like Beller, and he seems to sort of now be getting his pace back finally from his injury that he had towards the end of last season, which is good. So maybe you'd want to see him rested. I think we all would have liked to have seen him rested, but considering the circumstances, it's not a surprise that he's starting, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, the lineup was kind of as expected.
Yeah.
I think there was only the question of, would Reece Nelson get a start? Would Eddie Nketiah start from the kickoff, or was he going to come on as a sub? Which I think, under different circumstances, you probably would have seen both. Nketiah, we did see Reece Nelson for about 2 minutes. Going into the game then, Josh, we started basically as we decided to perform the entire first half, which was a complete car crash. And credit to Ostersund, because I thought they played really well, particularly in the first half.
Yeah, I think when we last saw them, they were midway through, basically in their pre-season. So I think they basically knuckled down and had a really hard week of training just to get back up to fitness. I don't know if they played any friendlies across a weekend or anything just to help them out with their match sharpness, but they certainly looked like they were more fluid in this game, should we say, than they were last week, where they had a dodgy couple of 20 minutes, and we just were really caught on the back foot. I think it's kind of difficult to get a team motivated when they're 3-0 up, which is a comfortable lead against a team that they basically held at harm's length for the majority of the first leg, to then say, right, you've got to see this out. It's not really the Arsenal way to go for the jugular. So I think with allowing Ostersunds to come onto us, and the fact that they are a very, very good footballing side, one of the best that you'll see, really, I think, from this season. Obviously, the likes of like Man City, head and shoulders above that, but they are superb. I thought
the one thing I'd say I understand your point about trying to get the players motivated is difficult, but I'm just looking at the team sheet here, so I'm not ignoring people on the chat. I've got a screen here, so I'm looking at the team sheet. There's players on that pitch who were picked tonight who, if they put in a really, really good performance, they've got a shout of playing in the cup final on Sunday.
Yeah,
so if you're one of those players, and there was plenty out there, because there's no guarantee that Jack was going to start Sunday. Welbeck was another one who's very unlikely to start. Iwobi, is he going to get a start in that game? There's quite a few there who realistically could have, if they put a real good performance in tonight, then they're maybe up. It'd certainly increase their chances to start on Sunday. So I do take a little bit of issue with the not being up for the game. I understand, yes, being 3-0 up it's like the games where we went 4-0 up by the end of the first half, and second half
like the Everton game, where we just kind of sat back and didn't really need to do anything.
Yeah, I get that, but you've still got to be able to control the game and and show a bit of intelligence, and I just didn't think we showed any of that tonight. Jace, how did you take the way we started?
It's back here to normal. I had it at beer sipping level. Disappointing. It is, and I was having a chat, and I'm going to pull it up because this is actually I sort of tweeted about it pretty early on, and it was at Footy Cody, and we're having a discussion. It's concerning how often we continually play down to our opponent's levels. When we never make a team play to our level. And I see that more so. We'll play with like some of the big boys. I actually think we'll have a pretty good game against City because that's like the most Arsenal way to do anything is to have a great match right after
it would
a terrible match.
It would be typical Arsenal to go and win Monday, wouldn't
absolutely. and like and steamroll them. I mean, just like Chelsea FA Cup them. Just absolutely play them off the pitch. Out like Wenger will outmanage Pep. It'll every single player will put in an 11 out of 10 performance. But then you look at the guys today, and you're like, yeah, I mean, you guys have stated it, and it's been said in the chat box over. You got these guys who are really on the fringes and playing for a spot, and you can't continue to play down. But at the same time, I just have a feeling that Arsene was in there going like, don't do anything crazy. Let's just sort of see it out. Try to keep the ball. Play keep away, whatever. The problem is the tone that he sets. I feel for us in these matches seems to be so laissez-faire that it's easy for our guys to fall into this false sense of security, and we don't seem to have any urgency about us against teams like this. We consistently play down to their level, and Cody was saying that the players deserve some fault, and the players do. I'm not shedding the fault that they should have. What I am doing is saying that even though we've had different players here at different times, the one constant to us sort of playing to the same level has always been the manager. Not always, but in the last 10 years especially has always been the manager. And the tone that he sets, and as a leader of a team, your team is going to embody your tone and how you approach that match. And if you don't approach that match, every single match, like it could be your last. And I don't think Wenger obviously doesn't think it's going to be his last because he's like, I'm going to be here through next season, no matter what. That's what he thinks. So he knows no matter what he does, he's still going to be here. So it's an improper mentality to sort of, I think, go in just trying to, let's just skate by. Let's go ahead. If they nick a win, as long as they don't score, 3 goals, we'll be fine. That seemed like the team talk before the match. And man, those first 26, 30 minutes were absolutely god awful. I couldn't even be angry. It was that bad. It wasn't even like, it was laughable. And it really, really sucks that this happens to us so many times. And I know Norma I put in the chat box that these are the type of situations where managers go. But the problem is it's not Norma. Like we still went through. We just advanced to another knockout round in a European Cup. And managers, even at other clubs, I think would still stay after a defeat like this. The problem is for those managers, it would be a shock defeat. It would really be something out of the norm for them to lose a match like this. The problem with Arsenal is it's not out of the norm. It's very predictable. I mean, we all have this. We all have this sense of impending doom coming into tonight, and all of our worst nightmares came true in the first, 25 to 35 minutes there, and it was literally like we didn't want to play a pass to a teammate, and it was just terrible, absolutely terrible. And it's laughable. It really is. I can't even be mad anymore. That's the thing. It's just, I know it's going to happen.
Yeah. I
know it's just win.
There's a couple of people in the chat box saying, don't be so negative. We're through. And that's true. We are through to the next round. And that is,
that's what I'm saying as well. Yeah. We are. And I'm super positive about Sunday. I'm being negative about this 26 minutes. When we looked like a U17 team going up against Barcelona practically. I mean, they outplayed us in every aspect of football in the first 30 minutes specifically.
Yeah.
Every single aspect they outplayed us. And I hate the whole, well, they want it more. But you could actually, to me, is the first night you could actually question what our players' motives were for being on the pitch. Because for some of them, it looked like they were just trying to make time speed up so they could just go home and have a nice, relaxing night on a Thursday night before Friday.
Yeah. So a couple of things in the chat box I just want to address quickly. Shredder will not put a shirt on, Steve. Sorry. Regardless of how many times you call him a redneck. Anyone who's listening to this later on and isn't watching the show, Shredder does have his guns out. He's full redneck today. Grumpy Gooner, yeah. If you dress as a barmaid, yeah, I probably will love you. And burn the blue kit. Everyone is agreeing. Burn the blue kit. It is, yeah, it's a disaster. The fact we have to play a blue kit at home is ridiculous. But anyway, back to the actual game.
Well, that goes to the Arsenal thing as well. We will not do what we're supposed to do. We will not wear our home kit at home. We will not do what you expect us to do.
Oh, I nearly lost it for Sunday for the because there was the story going around that we were going to wear the red shorts and red socks again. And I was going nuts, and then the EFL came out and reversed the decision the next day, thankfully.
So what is the Ostersunds away kit?
I have no idea.
Home kit, because the reason why we were in the blue kit is because our shorts clash.
Yeah, I've got absolutely no idea what their kit is. No. I didn't see the first game, which was a blessing, because it wasn't brilliant.
They were dressed like Swansea though, and that's what gave me like weird flashbacks when they scored 2 goals.
Oh well, that explains it all.
Yeah.
So should we go into the first goal? Yeah. Josh, do you want to talk about the first goal?
Yeah. What the fuck is Kolasinac doing? Yeah, the guy looked just like he hadn't kicked a football in, I don't know, even for his injury, he looked like he'd taken about 3 years off the game, and you know, he'd been called up because we were short on players, and it was some guy's dad. He just had no sense of where he was on the pitch, just was losing it. His recovery pace, which I don't think is great at the same, you know, isn't really great at the best of times. It was just awful. I think he was the main culprit of this, just getting robbed of the ball and then trying to look like he was trying to, you know, close down. And then you got Chambers doesn't know if to come across or not, assuming Ospina's got it, and just gets his legs tangled up underneath himself. And I'd want him to try and at least go to ground there, try and hook that ball out, but instead gets a toe to it instead of trying to hook it away. And that kind of helps it into the bottom corner. I think it was going there anyway. I don't think Ospina's got it covered. The guy's so fearful at letting something in at his near post, he practically covers the corner flag at the same time. So yeah, that was the first one. The second one's almost similar.
That first goal, I mean, Kolasinac just completely caught out. But again, losing the ball in midfield, as we did throughout the first half, just turning it over. And I think, you know, Ospina on that one in particular, I really don't know what he's doing. I'm not a goalkeeper. I'm clearly not a professional footballer. I mean, fucking look at me. But as a goalkeeper, you either stay on your line or you come out. You don't go halfway and then decide to stop, which is what you did. You know, and it just, yeah, just bizarre. And then I actually feel a little bit sorry for the guy who took the shot, because I think the commentator said he's the first Palestinian to ever play in Europe, apparently. You know, which is cool. I didn't realise that. I didn't know. Well, to be honest, I couldn't think of any other Palestinian player. So he would have been the first Palestinian player to get a goal in Europe as well. But apparently, it has been credited to Callum Chambers. The second goal, Shredder, came almost immediately afterwards. We did, you know, again, we've seen it so much this season. As soon as we concede a goal, we, you know, collapse. The shape that we didn't have a great shape in the game anyway, but the little shape that we did have falls to bits. We give the ball away very easily. We look very nervous. And again, they go, and, you know, we obviously made problems, but I actually credit to the guy who scored it. Was it Sema, who I thought had a very good game for them down the left-hand side. Yeah. Really, really good finish from him. But again, just really stupid schoolboy errors from us in the build-up to it.
Yeah, there was, and I think that's where you gotta the fault lies with it, because I think if one of our players scores a similar goal, we're probably not as harsh on that defender, because I think it was a really good move that he gave Chambers, and Chambers isn't like the fastest guy by any means. You know, but it's a tough move, and he created enough separation there, got Chambers turned, and then had a really good finish again. I don't understand why Ospina was so trying to not allow a near post goal like Czech would, that he like legitimately koala beared the shit out of that near post. So, but no, the problem is it was with our build up tonight, and we were just we were Manwich sloppy Joe in possession. I mean, we just stuff falling all off of off of our buns. Every time we took a bite, we couldn't get any meat. And the problem was, is Ostersunds were a hungry dog sitting underneath the table cleaning up our scraps, and they did a really good job. I mean, for a team that's only been around for 22 years now, sort of you think about that and the composure that they're able to come into, let's not call it a full Emirates Stadium by any means, but the Emirates Stadium,
8,000 according to the the official whatever it is, attendance number.
Oh, that was the attendance. That wasn't the people watching on television. Okay. So it says a lot about the team and the way that they're coached and set up, and it's always easy for the underdog to get sort of up for a team like us, and just so sloppy in possession. And when you do that against the team who's already looking for goals, who's going to take those risks, you got to make sure that you dot your I's and cross your T's. And tonight, we definitely we didn't even have the pen in our hand to do any of that. So it was but again, if one of our players scores that same goal, we're talking about the quality move to finish it off. And I think we got to give, I forgot what his name was because I don't watch Ostersunds or Moister Sons or whoever they're called. I mean, it was a really good goal, really good turn, really good little trick, and he got the space he needed.
Yeah, I think because obviously we had the kickoff from the goal we conceded, and then I can't remember who passed it into Welbeck, but it wasn't the greatest pass. And then his touch was just dreadful, and it took him sort of 10 yards, 15 yards back into our half.
What?
Lost possession, and then
Welbeck's touch dreadful.
No, sorry, was it Welbeck or a Wobie? No, I think it was a Wobie.
You can substitute any player's name in that, and it would be appropriate for tonight.
Honestly, they were all awful, yeah. And then, I mean, Chambers gets turned. And he's not quick. But, Semmer, I thought for them tonight, fair play to him. The great strike, good little turn. And he played really, really well all night for them. I can actually see quite a few of their players getting picked up by, not the big boys, but, some teams around Europe, like in Germany and France and whatever, and getting themselves up into a higher level of football because they were certainly decent. I mean, after that, Josh, the first half continued on. We didn't really create anything. We had more of the ball. We did throughout the entire game. I didn't think we were playing as slow as we sometimes have in previous games. It wasn't certainly fast play, but again, we did the same thing where if there was a chance to cross first time, we didn't play it. If there was a chance to run into space or take a man on, we didn't do it. We'd always check back inside. And again, it was a lot more come back out sideways and let Ostersund get themselves back in position, and they defended well against it. And I think the only time I saw the goalkeeper pick it up was from a Bellerin cross that he just got to before, like Welbeck. I don't think we even had a shot on goal in the first half that I can remember anyway.
Yeah, it was pretty worrying, that whole build-up play. To be honest, I kind of saw this happening in about the 7th minute when Jack held onto the ball far too long, when Mkhitaryan was basically breaking the back four line of Ostersunds. Jack only needed to play a first-time pass, and Mickey was through. I think overall there was just a complete lack of communication, and I think the main person to let us down in that, for me, was Jack Wilshere. He's a player that's heralded as being able to control a game, and he was barely controlling the ball, let alone the midfield. His just vision and passing was just poor. I think the players around him perhaps didn't help him necessarily. There were certainly some poor runs from the likes of Danny Welbeck that didn't really help giving them an option, but the likes of a Mkhitaryan was always available. Even a Iwobi was always making himself available. I did enjoy the fact that Iwobi was out and getting chalk on his boots, so we were actually getting a wide outlet there, which perhaps is what slowed Kolasinac down, because that's normally a place that he'd take up. But yeah, I think it was just a really odd first half where no one really knew what was going on. And I think the most worrying thing was that Jack Wilshere performance, to be honest, because I think arguably out of all the players that were in contention to play at the weekend, I think Bellerin and Ospina are in anyway. Ospina's already been confirmed, and I think Bellerin is a shoe-in because he's our first choice right back. But Wilshere was that one player that you're like, okay, he could get in. But I don't know what's going on with him at all, to be honest. And this performance was absolutely woeful from him.
Yeah, he. I mean, I don't think anyone came out of tonight's game with any praise, to be honest. I thought pretty much every one of our players on the pitch was dreadful for the majority of the night.
Yeah, not from the starting 11, certainly.
No,
I would say the fact that the change we made at half-time changed the game for us. Actually having a player in there that could control the tempo and was doing it in Granit Xhaka.
I mean, I still thought Xhaka was poor as well, but he was better than what we had in the first half, certainly. But yeah, Jack tonight, I thought at times seemed, especially sort of 50, 60 minutes on, he seemed like out of puff. The game seemed to be going past him. He seemed a little bit out of energy. So I don't know, maybe he's played too much. I'm not sure, but he was very, very poor.
He's had a week off, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Played since last Thursday. Yeah, they haven't played since last Thursday.
But the problem is Jack hasn't played as many games as he has this season for us, other than maybe Bournemouth, which he also got injured. I mean, the guy's not played a ton of football.
Yeah, he's the longest run of games he's played in a couple of years, probably.
Right? So, like, you can't. I mean, he's gonna still have to find that overall endurance. He may be fit for a match or two, but he's got to find that overall endurance to play 5, 6, 7, 8 matches in a row, even with just a week off. That's why we sent him to Bournemouth, was to get that so he could stay healthy, and he couldn't. And I think that's probably his biggest issue right now, is the fact that he just can't be relied on game in and game out.
Yeah. Just sort of to round up the first half. I just thought, for my take on it, I thought the midfield was a mess. There was no connection between the midfield and the defence throughout the entire game, particularly in the first half. It looked like Elneny was starting as the deepest one, but then it would be Maitland-Niles. But the moment we lost the ball and turned possession, if any of the Ostersunds team got past them, no one else was covering. Elneny was high up the pitch at one point. Then Maitland-Niles was high up the pitch. They weren't talking to each other about who was covering. The defence wasn't calling any of them back. Mkhitaryan was, dreadful. I thought he had, passing stats that Alexis Sanchez would have been, would have liked to have had before he left Arsenal. I think he was like 50-something% at the end of the first half. His passing stats, he wasn't tracking back. Iwobi as well, Welbeck was just nothing up front. And credit to Ostersund, because they outplayed us in the first half. I'd imagine they'd gone home, proud of their performance, but gutted that they were so timid in the first game, because honestly, on tonight's performance, they probably could have gone through if they'd gone for it a bit more at home. As you said, Josh, second half, we made a sub, which is very un-Arsenal-like. It's very rare that he does that, and it is only in games where we have been so poor that this ever happened. I can only remember maybe 2 other games he's ever done it off the top of my head. But it was Maitland-Niles who was the one who was sacrificed in midfield for Granit Xhaka. I'm not going to pick out any one player as worse over anybody else, because honestly, I think Arsenal could have taken off anyone from that midfield three at half-time, and it really wouldn't have mattered. Could have been Maitland-Niles, it could have been Elneny, it could have been Jack. It really didn't matter who you took off, because they were all dreadful. But I saw the sense in it. You wanted to try and calm it down and put your foot on the ball. So do you agree with Arsene that Maitland-Niles was the one to come off at half-time, Josh? Or again, are you with me that it could have been anyone and it was just take the younger man off?
Yeah, I think we discussed it in our WhatsApp group for what changes should occur at half-time. The key thing for me was getting Maitland-Niles out of that central midfield position, because he was just completely overrun. He was just a level below that, which is expected. He's a young guy. He's coming through that, and this is the first time that he's really started a game in central midfield for us. Personally, for me, after Kolasinic's first half, maybe he was one to go off. He was certainly a candidate. Putting Maitland-Niles out there would have been a move that I would have looked at. But as you say, Welbeck could have come off, Iwobi could have come off. Jack Wilshere, for me, was a candidate to come off as well, because I think, especially from those senior players that had that chance, I think it was something that they needed to happen to get hooked against Ostersunds. You know, it's kind of two ways of managing them. You either keep them on for the rest of the 90 minutes as punishment and say, right, I'm running you into the ground because you've been awful. Or you just hook them off and say, right, that's your cup final overwood. This could be your Arsenal career as well, because I'm going to move the team around and bring on players that actually want to fight for the position. And it was just crazy to see that some of these players just didn't seem to just have some kind of fluidity. It's like they'd never trained together. And I think that was probably the most damning thing from the first half, was just the lack of cohesion. But as soon as Xhaka came on, there was a lot more control about the midfield. I think his communication skills were a lot better. There was actually someone in there telling people to do what they should be doing. He certainly had some choice words with El Neni when he was getting in his space and told him to politely foxtrot Oscar elsewhere. So I think that was the kind of thing we were missing, was just that bit of communication in the middle. And Jack at number 10 just wasn't really working for us. And I don't think Maitland-Niles had fully understood, because there were moments there when normally he'd be recovering. If he was at left wing back, he would have recovered when the player was, attacking to come in and defensively cover. But he just wasn't doing it. So I don't know what happened to him there. But perhaps it was just too much pressure for him. But otherwise, I think with the second half, the way we started was a lot more promising. But from that first half overall, if you could have made 11 subs, probably would have done that.
Yeah, to be fair, that wouldn't have been a bad shout. Jace, as it was, we got the goal back almost immediately, just 2 minutes into the second half. And it was a guy who, honestly, other than that, the goal that he scored, I also thought was absolutely dreadful. Kolasinac. He's had a weird season at Arsenal. Yeah, very, very strange. Started off brightly and then disappeared out of the team and hasn't been in there since. Got, lost his place for young kids. Came back from his injury, played a game, then was basically booted out again. Likes to score a goal though, and he don't mess about when he hits the ball. Weird performance from him tonight. We just want to talk us through the goal first.
Yeah, I want to say it was some guy named Josh in one of the WhatsApp groups that puts that he Sanchez'd it, which means had an absolute shit performance, but somehow scores a goal that sort of saves us. And I think that just took the wind out of Ostersunds' sail. I think they really expended a lot of energy in the first half, and I don't remember all of the build up to the play. I just remember all of a sudden seeing the ball sort of ricocheting around and it falls to him and he hits it sort of on the volley and just tries to put it through the back of the net, which was good to see. It was a little Podolski-esque with the velocity on it. It's just good, but no, he's had a really weird season with us. And I said at the beginning of the year, if you watched these shows, that he may go down as the best signing of the season in the Premier League. Comes in highly rated from Schalke on a free as well. Let's not forget that, folks. He still came to us on a free. He picked us. I think he was courted by a couple other teams of our size and chose us. Comes into us, after making best 11 in Germany last season as well. Absolutely tore it up. And then, John, you got it spotted. He just sort of had a game or two where he didn't put a good performance in. I think he lost a little favor, then comes back in, gets injured, then he comes back in, falls out of favor. Now he's sort of gone back to, playing sort of these lesser important matches, maybe I should say. And I mean, it's not any less important. I do think if there wasn't a final on Sunday, that we may not have seen him though. I think probably our priority is Man City at this point. I think if it was if we were not in this final, you probably would have seen Monreal probably come in my opinion. Yeah. But it puts the he epitomizes this Arsenal team is the fact that you can go for spurts and look absolutely dreadful. And then you can have spurts where you look like you're the absolute best player on the pitch, best team in your country. And you go like, why? Where's that? Why can't we do that?
Yeah.
And I think we saw that with his goal. The technique that he used for it was absolutely brilliant. The positioning that he got himself into with, with the ball in the box there was absolutely brilliant. I think that's probably even a goal that you put Nacho Monreal in the same situation, the same thing probably happened. So let's. I'm not trying to take credit away from Kolasinac, but he put himself in the right position that the left back should be in at that time, and it rewarded him. And I think that took all the sails out of Moisture Sands over there, and they really, I think they just found it a lot harder to get back in the game. And chance fell to the guy. He absolutely took it, and we got to give the guy credit for that because he definitely deserves it. But yeah, I think tonight's game sort of does sum him up, is that he can be absolutely brilliant, but then at times he can be the absolute worst player on the pitch, and also sums up Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was funny that the goal itself came from, I think it was Bellerin cross, and the right back for Ostersund, whose name I can't remember, Mecca something or other, Mukibi, maybe, I don't know, I'm not sure. I've probably butchered that. Apologies. Yeah, he just basically completely miskicked the ball, the clearance. He had an easy chance of clearance, and it fell to Kolasinac. He got himself in the right position. Scored the goal, and I think you're right. It did kind of knock the wind out of him.
Yeah.
Josh, after that, I don't think we necessarily played like noticeably better in the second half. We were a little bit more controlled, but it was still a lot of stray passes, and the tempo was still a little bit slow. I think again we did the thing what we're guilty of in games where we've got a goal, it's 4-2 on aggregate now. We can kind of take our foot off the gas again, because they still kept creating and coming forward, didn't they, Ostersund? Not with as much incision as they did in the first half. It's fair to say, but they still kept going, didn't they?
Yeah, definitely. I think, to be honest, they came into this game with nothing to lose. There was zero pressure on them. This for them, not to sound harsh, but is almost like a cup final for them. They've come to a huge stadium
I think
for
they'd
them.
accept that. Yeah.
Yeah, they've come to a huge stadium. They're playing one of the big teams in England. I think that, to be honest, that you can't really say more than that. That fairer than that they came out and they obviously wanted it more. Even if Arsenal were 3-0 down from the first leg, Ostersunds would still be coming here and wanting the game more, because for them this is huge. It's bigger than anything that we'd have. It's a bit like when we play Tottenham. It's the same kind of thing. It's their cup final. It's not ours. So I think overall they still created chances, less than they did in the first half.
Yeah.
I think because we had more control in the game, and I think the fact that Xhaka came on and was a lot calmer in that midfield, that it meant that we didn't break up as often. I think we still had problems with the retention of the ball, how we were building chances, but there were gaps appearing, which gave us a few more options.
Yeah, I thought, we had a few chances to break on them tonight, particularly in the second half. Jason, when it comes to you, our best chance in the game fell to Danny Welbeck, who got his head on the ball. He hit it cleanly. It was a clean connection. It was not a typical Danny Welbeck. I've mishit it, kicked it off one leg, it's bounced off the other and gone in. He got a really good clean head on the ball, but put it straight at the keeper. Kind of summed up his performance tonight up front, didn't it? And these two games are a huge chance for him, because with Lacazette injured, who we got some good news today, he might be back for the second leg of whoever we draw, which would be good. But it's a big chance for him to prove his shout for being up front, because he wants to play as a striker. He doesn't want to play as a wide man.
Yeah.
And he hasn't done anything to warrant that argument at the moment, has he?
No, he hadn't. And watching him tonight, and I want to say it was Yankee Gunner, someone, I think it was Yankee Gunner on Twitter, who was saying, like, even when he makes good runs, his body's closed off to receive the ball. He does, even when he puts himself in a good position for us to pass to him, he's not in a good position to be passed to. It's so frustrating to see a guy who, for the first 8 games of the season, was our leading goal scorer. I mean, let's not forget that at the beginning of the year, this guy was banging in goals left and right, and now, I mean, Petr Cech would save his penalty at this point. Like that's the guy's luck at the moment, right? Like that's just he seems bereft of any sort of creativity in his runs. He's not putting himself in good positions. There were a couple of times tonight when I was thinking, like, where's Welbeck at? Like he should be sort of near the penalty spot. He's not there. He's not there. He's drifting wide. He's at the back post. He doesn't ever seem to be in the right position at the right time. And his instincts are just all off. And the poor guy's just come through injury after injury since he came to us. I think I find it hard to just completely judge him off this because I think we've seen him perform better for us. We know what he can do for us. He saved us against Leicester one year, salvaged, I think, a point for us. He's beaten United at Old Trafford for us. Let's not forget that. Man, there was also the other chance that he had running on goal when he actually created some space, cut back inside to his left foot.
Oh yeah,
and just I could have hit
one moment. I think
like
the one moment in the game when Ostersund like actually gave the ball away, like in a bad area. They looked like us defending. For that one brief moment, it's okay, we'll get a goal when it's all calm.
And he just absolutely scuffed it. And it's his weak foot. I get it. You've created the space. You have the time. And you can tell it's him going. This is where I can. And he got so worked up and scuffs it, and just the dribbler sort of right to the keeper's legs, and he had just at that moment. The guy. We need to give him like over here in the States, when you're 8 years old, you lower the basketball goal to like 7 feet and you can like dunk yourself. And like, we just need to get like a 50-foot by 50-foot goal for him to shoot in right now on the training pitch. Just hit the net. That's all you got to do. Just hit the net and just let him get confidence, and then slowly bring the goal closer in. And because the poor guy just now everybody's getting on him. I'm sure he feels the pressure just himself that he wants to score. He knows he should be doing better. This is a player that came from Manchester United. And say what you want about Arsenal, but the pressure on Manchester United players and the pressure that they have to endure wearing the United badge, and sort of Arsenal is very similar to that. And when you're not performing for either of those two clubs, you're going to put more pressure on yourself, especially if you know the weight of those badges. And I think that's what he's doing. He's putting so much pressure on himself because he knows this is his chance. And it's just when you start to do that, there are a lot of guys, as another sports analogy here is guys in baseball, they get what are called the yips, and they can't throw a ball straight for 5 feet. And it's a lot of times it's second baseman. You're the closest to the first baseman, and you can't throw that ball 40 feet to save your life. And that's what Danny Welbeck has the yips right now. And send that guy to a sports psychologist, because Jesus Christ, he needs some help.
Yeah.
I love the guy, though. I love the guy to death.
Great
right
athlete
now,
and great attitude, and always
absolutely,
works hard.
absolutely.
His technique and his ability and his touch on the ball and everything is so off at the moment.
Yeah.
But again, he was not the only one tonight.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. So I would give just about all of our players a 0 out of 10 tonight for their performance. Josh, I don't really want to talk about the game anymore, to be perfectly honest, because there wasn't a lot more to talk about, other than I think Ospina made some saves that they weren't too difficult, and we didn't really do a lot else. 58,000 attendance. Believe that, obviously. Lots of people obviously didn't go. If you do have questions for tonight's game, please fire away in the chat box. The good news is we are through to the next round. I will just read off the list of teams that are also through and who we can draw. It is now an open draw from the next round, so we can draw anyone. There's none of you can't draw against a team from your own country and all that. So we could draw AC Milan. Dortmund went through. They got an equaliser against Atalanta, the bastards, in the last minute. Athletic Bilbao, Atletico Madrid, Marseille, CSKA Moscow, Dynamo Kiev, Lazio, Lokomotiv Moscow. Who's this? RB Leipzig. Oh God, Pleasant as well from Czech Republic. Salzburg, Sporting from Portugal, Lyon from France, and Zenit from Russia. So there's not too many teams in that that I particularly want to face. To be honest, I don't think there's really an easy matchup in that. I don't know. Do you have any preference on any of those teams?
Yeah, I'd take Sporting Lisbon.
Take Sporting. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, Sporting would be interesting. Any of the French teams, although we don't really turn up against farmers, so maybe not. That's for you, Chris. But yeah, I'm not too worried about. I think the only one that really worries me from there is Lazio or Atletico. Those are the only two, to be honest. The rest of them can easily. The rest of those big teams, should we say, could easily bottle a game. AC Milan could bottle a game in a.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Zenit, yeah, you got to go to Russia. That's an issue. I think we've got a couple of those. It's a couple of Russian teams in there. It's a couple of Ukraine teams.
Yeah.
Salzburg, why not?
Yeah.
Go there. I don't mind.
That's our old training ground stomp, isn't it?
Yeah.
All the time. So
exactly.
There's a few teams. I mean, like you said, I think Sporting Portuguese teams tend to be pretty poor on the road. They don't do great. Pleasant as well, maybe wouldn't be too bad. And Salzburg. But yeah, I definitely would not want Atletico. And I don't think I'd even want Leipzig, and I definitely wouldn't want Lazio. Again, Italian teams don't travel particularly well, but Lazio liked scoring goals at home. As you saw tonight, just the 5.
Yeah, that's the issue, that without a goal scorer for a couple more weeks,
that's
in this competition, that's the issue. That we want a team that really you could just 1-0 them, to be honest, because that's going to be our best option.
For those interested, the draw is tomorrow at 1 o'clock Central European time. So it's 12 o'clock our time. Josh, am I right? Yeah, we're an hour. Yeah.
Can I say something controversial?
Yes, go for it.
I want Atletico Madrid.
Ooh.
Is that so we get knocked out easier?
No, it's because we'll actually turn up.
Okay.
If we can't turn up for Ostersunds, how are we going to turn up for Sporting Lisbon? Like we like to play big teams, except for Bayern. We like to play big teams, and they're a team that we know we wouldn't be able to just push to the side. Like that's sadly the mental state of this club is, if it's not a big team, we just don't give a shit, and then we play like we did tonight. So let's get the best team. Let's get Napoli. Let's get Lazio. Let's get
Napoli are gone.
Madrid. All right, whatever. Well,
Yeah.
let's get the big teams that we know we'll have to show up against. Plus, you guys are such losers. It's European football. Who doesn't want to beat the biggest and best teams on the second biggest stage in Europe to win the cup? And that's when we have done the best. Is when we won those FA Cups. We were beating Tottenham away. We were beating United away. We were beating City. We were beating Chelsea away. Those are the teams that we beat to go on those runs to win the FA Cup. So let's do it let's do it in a European Cup. Let's bring them on. I don't care. Yeah, they have good players. We've got great players. And Norma asked earlier, what's our level? Our level is the fact that we've got some bang on talented players, and we underutilize them over and over again. But I honestly believe this. If we have our best 11 out there, our best 11 can compete with anybody on this planet. Anybody. Barcelona, Real Madrid, on their day, we can go toe-to-toe. And we may not always win, but I do believe, just based on talent-wise, our players can match up with anybody in the world. And on a good day, we can definitely grab a result. Sorry, mini rant.
That's all right. I've just kind of was, hoping for a Man U kind of run to the final, where you end up with a lot of mid-table teams and then end up with Ajax in the final.
The one worry I've got is if we get the so-called easier teams, is that Arsenal then might go, there's still a glimmer of a chance of top 4, and might hedge a little bit on team selection still in Europe, which I don't think you can afford to do anymore now. I think from this round onwards, regardless of who we get, just put your best team out. Mesut, love you when you're on form, mate, but no more mystery illnesses at convenient times, please. because I'm sure he'll be back on Sunday. Anyway, that's who we can draw. Someone did ask, is it who gets the away leg? It's just how it's drawn. So I think the first name out gets the. Is it favourable to have the away leg first? I think it is.
Yes, it
I
is.
think that's how they draw it, isn't it? So if Arsenal are the first team out, whoever they get drawn against, Arsenal would get the away leg first, and then it goes on like that throughout the rest of the draw. Yeah, so that's it. So now we are going to answer some questions. I've got a couple, but if you've got any more chat, please feel free to put them in the box, and I'll get to ask the panel. One from I'm going to butcher this name. Sinraf Moralia. Sorry if I'm horrible with names. About the lineup. Has Twitter bullied Arsenal's Twitter handle into not putting the graphic of who is playing where? I think they stopped doing that since the Man City game where Coquelin played centre back. Josh.
Yeah, it does look like that. To be honest, we're so fluid with how our formation is, whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. But the positional sense of our team is fluid, should we put it that way? So I don't think it adds any benefit, especially when you saw the lineup for today. The one that UEFA put out was completely wrong. I've seen many graphics that we've put up basically after that Man City game that have just been all over the shop. The way that we were playing in the first half, El Neni sat in the back and the fullbacks pushed on. That's technically a throw at the back if you look at it. But, because it's in different phases and things, I can get really technical, boring and nerdy about it if necessary. But, people have already had a hard enough night watching that game. So listening to me rant about positional senses and formations on paper and certain transition is enough for anybody to want to top themselves. So, no, I don't think we've bullied them into them. I think we're more likely trying to bully the rest of our young players into trying to top themselves.
Yeah, it is true though. Since that game, the Arsenal Twitter account hasn't put the team out as actually put them up in a.
I think it's because they don't have an idea. They're just like, oh, God knows.
Yeah, I do genuinely think when that lineup came out, they were just like, I assume it's that, because I think everyone else did as well. Quick one for me from Grumpy Gooner. I have an annoying itch in my pants. Can John give me any idea as to what it might be? Sorry, can't do. There's far too many things it could be. Go and get yourself checked up.
John has had all of them though. All the different things that it could be. John's had them.
Yeah, I've had
even a ferret.
Yeah,
yeah.
Ferrets are quite nice. They're surprisingly good pets. Anyway, back to the actual questions. One from Carlito Elguna. Chase, you can have this. What is Steve Bold's job?
Job number one is to whisper sweet nothings in Arsene Wenger's ear on the bench. And then job number two is to set up cones. And that seems to be about it. That's my legitimate answer. That's not a joke. I legitimately think that's all. Steve Jobs. Steve Bould is just the yes man for Wenger on the pitch and points out he should be doing that, and then Wenger goes yes he should. We will not tell him that though. And then all of a sudden, like, he just goes at training and sets up the cones. That's I legit. That's probably what happens.
Fair enough. Arsenic Guna in case. Why do we lose home games in European knockout ties? I mean, we like annoying fans. Stan Kroenke has a share in Arsenal Fan TV. I don't know. Who knows why we lost so many away games this season? I've got no idea.
This was, I want to say, I think we have one win in our last 7 home European Cup ties.
Yeah,
1 and 7.
Yeah, it's bizarre that our home form is so good in the league, and then in Europe it's just pap. But we were on a really good home run of home form actually before tonight's game. I don't think we'd lost in like 11 or something like that. It might have been.
It's just European knockout games, and to be fair, those last 6 I could probably name off the top of my head as Bayern, Barcelona, Dortmund.
No.
Nope.
No, sorry, did I get too many Bayerns?
It was no. You had the right amount of Bayerns. Dortmund was not in there though.
No.
No, I just had it up a second.
Oh,
ago.
Monaco,
Napoli,
Monaco.
Monaco was
Yeah.
So it goes Milan is what we won, and then Bayern, Monaco, Barcelona, Bayern, Ostersund.
There we go.
Well, you're in a privileged group there, Austin.
And all of all of them won the league that season. Didn't all of them win the league that season as well? That they beat us. I'm pretty sure that's a pretty. Was
not the Champions League? No,
but won their actual league. So
actual league? Oh, probably. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
So yeah, no one really knows, but we have got a habit of doing it. Carly, why is Batshuayi not cup tied for Dortmund and Aubameyang is for Arsenal? I assume he didn't play for Chelsea in the Champions League.
No, he did, but Chelsea are in the Champions League. Whereas Dortmund dropped into the Champions League into the Europa League, and that's why.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just different rules for different competitions. Don't know why the rules are like that. They're stupid, but we knew that when we bought the player, as Dortmund did when they got Batshuayi. So that's just the way it is. Couple more questions. Oh, this is a nice one. One from Joe Madeira, who's tried to be the only positive voice in the community. So good luck with that, Joe. Would you prefer to play good football as we did during our 10 years without a trophy? Questionable, but yeah, okay, I can see what you mean. Or play now and win 6 trophies in 4 years, 3 FA Cups and 3 Community Shields. I'll just because this will take ages to answer. So just a yes or no from all of you, Josh.
Trophies over banter era.
Trophies over the banter era. Jace.
Trophies are all that counts. All that matters. Trophies all day.
I would also take the trophies, but honestly, I'm not sure how much more of I can take watching this team. It's getting ridiculous. Honestly, it's so fucking miserable to watch now. That might be the first time I've sworn tonight. Wow, amazing. See, look, Arsenal stopped me swearing as well. I've just given up that much hope. One from Neil Vagalis. Again, another name I've butchered. Maitland-Niles, has he lost his chance at centre mid? Is it gone now, Josh?
Yes, get him out on the wing. Keep him there. He's a winger.
So you wouldn't give him a chance again at centre mid?
No, we've got better central midfielders. I don't know. You know, we've got not great wingers. He's quite good on the wing. Okay, he could, and he can also put a cross in as well. Have you noticed that we've got a player that can cross? And where do you want to play him? In the middle, where he can't cross? No, do me a favour, get him on the wing, put crosses in.
We haven't got a striker who can head the ball though.
Nah.
Well, unless it's straight at the goalkeeper.
Yeah, it's straight at the goalkeeper, or we'll have Aaron Ramsey coming in. He's a player that can get to the byline and pull it back. And you've got someone like Aaron Ramsey who's going to make runs into the box, or El Neni is probably the closest player to Aaron Ramsey in terms of making attacking runs and has any form of eye for goal. I think that was the worrying thing, that if you look at the team sheet and see Danny Welbeck and Jack Wilshere up front, it strikes fear into nobody. Score any goals. It's like
it strikes fear into Roy Hodgson.
Yeah, I think
as the England manager.
Yeah, exactly. That's his only available options.
And we've got another one on the coaching staff here, Jace, to see if you can do this one. Okay. Formerly Noser asks, what's Mad Jens doing?
I actually have a feeling that Mad Jens literally just berates David Ospina every single day. Just verbal abuse nonstop while they're on the training pitch. And then goes home at night and Googles Urban Dictionary to find out new ways to slag off Ospina.
Yeah, I mean,
but let's be honest, Jens Lehmann is not the goalkeeping coach either.
Yeah, that is also true.
Let's not forget that he's just sort of around to give suggestions. But if you listen to the podcast this last week with as Danny calls him, Shami Rabon, or Rami Shaban, which was excellent, by the way. Everybody should absolutely go listen to it. And I think Steve made a bunch of great points on there, just about a litany of things. Is the fact that Rami says that the goalkeeping coach isn't actually as important, and it's probably one of the times I know there's a lot of controversy between players and fans, in advice, but when you have players like Szczesny and Fabianski who literally become, and Fabianski's still got a bit of the flappies in him, but you have a keeper like Wojciech Szczesny who goes on loan to Roma for a year and says that he learns more in a year about goalkeeping. And granted, he has got a little bias, so maybe he didn't learn as much about goalkeeping in a year as he had his entire time at Arsenal. But you get the suggestion that makes is that, I think a lot of that with a lot of the coaching staff, period, Arsene Wenger just expects status quo.
Yeah.
And I think we're seeing that with players, and I think we've seen that. I think that's why Czech has regressed a little bit. I think that's why Ospina has not progressed, and maybe that's also why Emiliano Martinez and Matt Macy are having trouble getting games, whether it be for us in cup competitions like this, even though Macy's on the bench. And then you see Emiliano Martinez. I think he's on loan right now, but I think he's even struggling as well. And it's just the player development that Arsenal used to be known for is not. I don't see it. And that really comes back, especially with first team players. That comes back to the manager and what he expects of his positional coaches. And it's sad. Shed a tear.
Right, a couple more questions before we wrap up tonight's show, because we have been going for an hour now. One from Ruddy Choo Choo. Does the Arsenal armband mean anything? Yes, I think it does. It probably means more to fans now than it used to do. I don't think captains are as, not that they're not as important, but you don't get those type of players as much anymore. And at our club, basically since the Invincibles era, we haven't really had a real standout leader as such. We've had like a best player in the team for a long time, whether it was, like Ozil at the moment or Van Persie before that, Cesc when he was captain, but none of it, you wouldn't call any of them leaders. So I don't think it matters as much anymore. Would I like to have someone who is like that, an actual leader on the pitch, a Gerrard or a John Terry type or something like that? Yeah, I'd absolutely love it, and I think it'd be a huge benefit. But I think those players are a lot harder to find now.
I think that's a generational thing.
Yeah,
John. I think that a lot of the players that we're seeing are, and I don't want to get too, ultra like cultural here, but the millennial generation. Our style of leadership is very different from the Generation X style of leadership, which Generation X was that Patrick Vieira, John Terry, Steven Gerrard. And Josh, you can weigh in on this as well. I'd love to hear what you sort of think, but I don't know if that same style of player exists that we're used to seeing with the armband. And so maybe I think now what we're seeing is this sort of maybe more silent leadership and just pure leadership by example, as opposed to the Tony Adams get in your face, like we're going to hold you accountable. I think just in general, leadership is, and how we define leadership, especially in terms of not just football, but all aspects of life, that there's a paradigm shift in how that looks. And I think we're starting to see that more so, probably, be able to identify that more so on the football pitch, because people aren't just like yelling and screaming and pointing. And I love Josh's sort of thought on that, because he's a millennial. So
yeah, that's true. I do sit wonderfully in that boundary, but I don't know if you'd see him on a football pitch, and more of an Adams than a Koscielny, should we say, as a communicator. But that's I think it is slightly generational, but I think there's also a bit more. Football's now more fast paced than it was back then, so you don't have time for someone to be able to sit back and organise. It's a case of everybody's got to know what they're doing when they go out on the pitch, and it's moved almost to the manager now to be that captain, be that organiser. If you look at someone like a Conte or an Allegri, they are a lot more vocal on the sidelines, and they're there to supplement the kind of captain role that's kind of dropped out of that. You'll still get a likes of, there's teams with big leaders in them. I could go back to Juve and we can talk about the likes of Chiellini and Buffon. They're still going to be controlling that team, but the rest of it still needs that additional bit of help, because there isn't that type of player anymore, because the game is now so fast paced and so high pressure that I think you've got to look after your game first and then start looking at everyone else's. And it's very difficult to kind of bridge off and multitask now. I don't think you've got that option anymore, unless you move to a more old school style of play which when you look at, say, a Burnley or a Tony Pulis Stoke, their type of play allows for someone to almost sit isolated and just act a bit like a coach on the field and get everybody organised and into a shape. But for the way that we play with a high back line, it's very simple communication that is key there. And then everyone else has just got to really get on with their game. It's not to say that our players don't communicate with each other at all. It's just when you're watching it on TV, you don't hear it at all because they're not mic'd up. What's mic'd up is 60,000 people in the crowd. There's no way you're going to hear, you know, little David Ospina with his probably squeaky little Spanish accent saying to Callum Chambers, "Hey, Callum, can you come closer, please?"
That is the worst Spanish accent I've ever heard in my life.
That was the squeak. I wasn't even going to go that way because I knew I'd get chastised and all of our Spanish listeners would leave and I'd be strung up and the president of Catalonia would just end me.
And he's from Colombia as well, so he's not even a Catalan. So you just pissed off loads more people.
Yeah. Nah, it's all right.
It's all right, Josh. I'll move on quickly if you like. It's fine.
You can leave hanging on it if you really want to. But no,
we're not allowed dead air. But no, I do agree with both of you. I do think it's just a different era of football, and those kind of players are a lot harder to find. I think also it's also partly down to the money. I think when you're 16, 17 years old and you're getting 10 grand a week, and you're not even in the first team, the way you act and the way you value money and value yourself on and off the pitch and the way you maybe carry yourself is a bit different. That's not true of all footballers, obviously. Some are very sensible, but I do think that has had a big impact on it as well. Couple more questions and then we'll wrap up. Colin Addy, do you think Barca would take Bellerin after today? I still think they'd take him. I'm sure there'll be a voice recording of him, you know, with his, maid has recorded him this time in the shower, talking to someone on the phone, not in Spanish, about complete bollocks. What a load of shit that was. It's funny, actually, you should say the weird thing about that recording. I got sent one anonymously the other day, and it was apparently of Danny. I can't confirm whether it's real or not, but there was a rumor he was willing to leave ABW and join Gooners in the USA if Mike would hand bathe him once a week. So I can't confirm whether that story is true or not, but we'll just put it out there and see what happens.
Just for that mental image, I think you should be sacked.
I'm gonna check with my sources in Spain on that one.
Oh dear.
Sounds like it would be true though.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure Mike would love it. He loves a hand baby.
I heard Mike instantly bought a first class ticket on Virgin Air, right straight over.
Oh dear. Right, there was one other question I saw in here from someone who I've completely lost. Sorry, I've lost who it was who posted it, but someone put in, would you take Chris Carpenter over Arsene Wenger right now as manager? Josh?
We're never that desperate.
Shredder?
The only way I would swap them is if in retirement, Arsene Wenger grew his hair out like Chris Carpenter. The only way I would have
posted those Instagram selfies.
Exactly. That's all. Yeah. Indie Wenger.
Their question was from AFC Am.
Oh, there you go. AFC Am. So there's your shout out. And I think that's Mike is going to see Danny. He's coming over to see him in March. So it's all coming together. That voice recording must be true. And on that bombshell, we will leave tonight's show. I'll say thank you to my guests first. Thank you, Josh, for coming on.
Cheers for having me, John. It's been wonderful.
Thank you, Jason, for coming on.
Thank you. I'm just glad that we put in a performance about 5% better than the players did today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just say to anyone who hasn't listened to this week's podcast, definitely check it out. Rami Shaban was on there. I almost said his name wrong because of Danny, because he always does that to me. Ex-Arsenal pro, obviously. Really good guy. He's been on a couple of times. Always got great stories about Arsenal. Really good insight. Steve was on as well. Really explained a lot of the new commercial deals that are coming in.
Yep.
Talking about new renewing sponsorships and the sleeve sponsors and things like that. So that's definitely worth checking out. We will obviously be back with you on Sunday for the cup final. I'm desperately looking now to see who's on. I've got no idea.
Jace is on.
Am I on?
Probably.
I think I'm probably on. I've got no idea. Jason's definitely on. We know Jason's on.
I think it's Ellis.
Oh, is it Ellis?
I think if he can sort out his internet.
John.
Oh, it's me, Jason, the Welsh Jason, and Carl on for the cup final.
Should be positive if we lose. Should be positive.
Yeah, so that should be a cracker because I mean, Jason on any time is great. So whatever happens, you will be happy. As Danny says, #fuck Ellis. But yeah, that has been it. So, not the result we wanted tonight, but we are through to the next round. Give us some tweets at the AFC podcast. Let us know who you want to draw and what game you would like to see, and maybe a nice away trip for someone. But yeah, that's it for tonight's show. So thank you everyone.
Give
for
us
watching.
a thumbs up. Give us a thumbs up.
Yeah, crush that thumbs up button. Hit subscribe, and we will be back with you on Sunday. Thank you very much.